guys, this is the next day after the podcast. I just showered. I looked over the footage. My mic was really loud. Like, I had my mic like that. So, even if I, chuckle, it's gonna sound like I am laughing way harder than I actually am. So I suggest you play this podcast at, medium to low volume, because you can still hear everything. It's just gonna be really loud. I'll fix it next time. I'll fix it in the next podcast. Trust me. Now I know how to fix it. This is my first one. So you can get on with the podcast. I apologize. Hey, this is the first episode of the Go Ahead Mr. Joecast. I have a guest, my first guest, Carmine Antonelli. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going? It's Carmine. But
oh, is it
Don't worry. I have had that problem my whole life. Don't worry about it.
I know. When I first looked at the name, I was trying to I think I even looked up how to say it.
Yep. I've had teachers in class say the wrong thing during attendance. I've had everything you can think of.
But yeah. So you are the first guest, and I have a list of bullet point questions. We can just go over them.
Yeah, sounds talking. Good. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be the first guest on this podcast. Thank you for reaching out.
No problem, dude. You're the first person that came to mind when I was thinking of starting a podcast.
Oh, that's super cool. Thank you.
So I'm just gonna start out with a common question. Who is your favorite JoJo?
Oh my god, that's so tough. So I can't pick a singular favorite anything when it comes to JoJo's. I have two favorites of everything, so I'm torn really between Joseph and Josuke.
Ooh.
Joseph, as soon as I started part 2, I immediately fell in love with Joseph. He's so just charismatic, and he hooks you in so well. And then with Josuke, it actually took a little bit longer for that kind of affection to develop. And for the longest time, I actually couldn't even figure out why I liked him so much. I just knew I did. And then it kind of clicked where I was like, oh, he's kind of got the best of every JoJo before him, mixed into one. So that's kind of, once I realized it, he shot up to the top of my list. And he's still there. It's still between the two of them.
Really? Wow. Yeah, my two favorites is just Josuke and Johnny.
Josuke and Johnny. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, Josuke, I'm totally on board with. Johnny, I have so many mixed feelings about this. I have so many mixed feelings about Part 7.
What mixed feelings?
I love it, and I also have grievances with it. I do like Johnny. I think Gyro carries Part 7, though. Johnny certainly has his moments. There are certainly some moments where I'm like, yo, Johnny, that was dope. The Valentine fight in general being one of them.
That was was that your favorite, the Valentine arc?
Yeah, I'd say so. So I guess I should give a little spoiler warning. Is it okay if I talk about Part 7 spoilers?
Oh yeah, I should probably say spoilers from 1 to 8.
Yeah, probably, right?
Yeah.
So I believe Valentine should have been the conclusion of Part 7. I feel like that fight was so good. It was so good. And everything about the end of Valentine was just amazing. And I really didn't have any problems with Part 7 up to that point, other than it was easily, in my opinion, the strangest part of JoJo's, which says a lot. There's some buck wild shit in Part 7.
Oh, most definitely. It's how do you get from the ending of Part 6 all the way to the Holy Corpses? It's such a huge jump.
It really is. And just the fact that the Holy Corpse is a thing. You can kind of see a progression of weirdness yet stability through all the first 6 parts. Okay, we're fighting a vampire. All right, what's the progression of a vampire? We're fighting Aztec demigods. Okay, now we do stands. It's the vampire again. Okay, now we do stands. It's a serial killer. That's pretty normal. Now it's a mafia thing. That's all right. Now it's okay. Well, we got a little weird in Part 6, but it's still not that strange. Then you go to an alternate universe where the president started a big horse race to assemble the body of Jesus. It's buck wild, but it's great. There's so many cool things in part 7. And then you get to the end, which bothers me because, I don't know, I felt like alternate Diego with the world was a little cheap. And I feel like Johnny had this hugely triumphant moment against Valentine, and it felt like we finally saw him like grow as a character, because I'm not gonna lie, for most of part 7, he's a whiny bitch.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's why I love him.
Yeah, of course. And then you get to the Valentine fight, you feel like you've seen him grow, and like you feel like you've seen him overcome all this stuff. And then Diego, of all people, who really is not even an evil character, he's hardly an antagonist. He's just a better racer than Johnny and Gyro. And then this alternate one comes in and just beats him in the race and punks him with his own stand. And then I don't know, man. It just felt like something. It fell flat in the end for me, and I just have this like weird feeling in my gut about part 7 because of it. Like, I loved so much of it, and at the end it's like, okay, all right, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Like that whole like ending, like after Valentine with Diego, I didn't like it either. Like
Yeah.
it just felt off. Like you're right, it shouldn't have ended with Valentine. It should have ended with Johnny growing.
Yeah, and I don't mind that Johnny didn't win the race. I feel like, he didn't need to. I feel like once, Gyro died, Gyro was really the guy I wanted to win the race. So once he died, I didn't really care who won. It was more about how Diego punked Johnny with Tut. Like, he used Johnny's own stand to punk him. And
that annoyed me.
Like, you just got this amazing god power and you get fucking punked with it? It just felt so weird.
Exactly.
And that was really the only problem I had. And then like, oh, now he can, but it's okay. It's fine. He can stand. He went to Japan. Like, what? What?
Oh, that actually annoys me even more. Johnny's death annoys me.
Okay, yes. So in part 8, they reveal how Johnny died, and he just ended his life. Like, he had one fucking cool moment, and then he just gets punked after punked after punked until a fucking rock falls on. Like, wow, man.
Just a roller coaster of emotion.
It really is. It really is. Although, I mean, other than that little bit of flashback, I will say part 8, I'm not done with part 8 yet. I'm only on like chapter 65.
Ooh.
But I fucking love it.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you this, it only gets better.
I hope so, man. I am in love with part 8. It is so great. I think Gappy's fantastic. I love him as a character. I love the supporting cast. Joshu can suck a dick. Joshu is such a great character in the sense that, like, I can't think of another character in JoJo's that is like, I guess Diego, but even Diego, not really. Like, he's not evil. He's just an asshole. And it's just like, a kid like that. Everyone knows a kid like that. He's just a dick.
My friend has a run-on joke where he talks about how he's probably the main JoJo.
Oh my god, yeah. Like, it feels like something out of a movie where, like, he should have been the JoJo, and then Gappy just strolls in like, nope, it's my story, bitch. It's fucking great. I love part 8 so much. That's why I wanted to do the Gappy cosplay for Halloween. It was so much fun. Yeah, man.
I'll say Gappy has my favorite stand.
Yo, yes. Soft and Wet is so dope.
It is.
Like, you hear the name and you're like, okay, well, what is that? Star Platinum and Crazy Diamond to Soft and Wet. But, like, the power is so cool. Like, when I saw, like, I took the sound away from this wall, I'm like, you did what?
Exactly. When you explain it, it doesn't sound like, an interesting stand, but when he uses it, it's amazing.
Yes, and that's part of why I love Gappy, because I have this phrase for him that, like, he's the dumbest genius I've ever known. Outside of combat, he is an absolute Dorcas, which is amazing. But in combat, he's a fucking genius.
He is.
Like, what was that fight against the Rock Twins where, like, he put the poison gas in his bubbles? Or did he put the fire in his bubbles? He did one of the two.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's so cool.
He honestly is. He's going up to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's slowly but surely climbing my list. Absolutely.
And when I tell you, when you get more and more into it, I think he might actually become your favorite.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he's already so high up there.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love him. I got a question for you.
Ooh, okay.
Who's your least favorite JoJo?
Oh, I had this written down as a question.
Okay.
All right. So, honestly, I'm going to say this, and it is very controversial, but I did not like Joseph too much.
Oh!
Listen.
Explain.
So, I in part 2, I liked him as a JoJo, but I really like Jonathan.
Okay. Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, and it was just a big difference, and I don't know if it was because, how he had Josuke, I didn't like that. He was, like, too goofy, but to the point where it almost got annoying.
I can see that.
Yeah, but I can see why you like him. I can see why other people like him. It's just he's not my favorite. I don't really like him too much compared to the other JoJos. He is definitely below there.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I like Joseph partly for the same reason like I was just talking about Gappy. He's a dumb genius where like and he kind of does it on purpose where I don't think Gappy does. He like presents himself as this moron who's like, oh no, I hit myself in the head with my own clacker balls. I'm a jerk. But then behind the scenes in his head, he's got a plan.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of part 2.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love him so much.
Mm-hmm.
But on the topic of least favorite JoJo's,
oh no,
I don't know if anyone will agree with me because it's not Jonathan. I love Jonathan just like you do. I think Jonathan's underrated and he's a precious treasure that we should all do. My answer is actually Giorno.
Yes.
And let me explain why. Because I think in concept, he's a cool character. I like the idea that there's this guy who's Dio's son, but also Jonathan's son, because that's how genetics works in the JoJo world. And he's got those aspects of both of them. The thing is, we don't see that, I feel, enough because Giorno is fucking boring.
He is! Oh my god, thank God someone agrees.
Doesn't do anything. I mean, again, like I said about Johnny, he has moments. Of course, the 7-page Muda is fucking iconic.
That was awesome.
And I feel like, Gold Experience Requiem, as Deus Ex Machina as it is really cool. But it's more Bruno's story than Giorno's. And there's so many times where Giorno's just there while the other guys are doing cooler stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like if it wasn't for the rest of the gang, Part 5 wouldn't be nearly as good as it is. I think it's great. And that's kind of the weird part about it. I think Part 5 is fantastic, but Giorno's not.
Yeah, Giorno, his stand, I would give him a stand. His stand is so cool.
Yes, and I think, that, like, bestowing life to objects thing is really cool. I feel like, though, it kind of got lost the more the part went on. Like, I feel like he kind of stopped utilizing these powers as much as he could have been. Or I guess, I don't know about could have been, but I don't know how many circumstances it really would have been useful. But, I don't know, it just feels like he got lost in the shuffle of his own story.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, I still like Giorno. There's not a single character I don't like. But if I'm going to put him on, like, my rankings, he's definitely at the bottom for me.
Yeah. As we were talking, I forgot Giorno existed, so that's why I said Joseph at first, but I don't know who I don't like more.
Oh, fair enough. If you forgot one of them existed, I think that speaks for itself. Is there a part that other people seem to constantly diss on that you're like an Advent defender of?
Ooh, okay. I would say this. I'm not an Advent defender, but I do defend this part 6.
Yeah, okay. So that was... yes. That is me. That is what I will die on the hill of part 6 as much as I need to. People do not give that part enough credit.
You know why they probably don't give it enough credit?
I think it's because they skimmed through it because they were excited to get to part 7.
Yes, that's what definitely. That's what
Part 7 has such a reputation as like this magnum opus of JoJo's, which, as we've already discussed, I don't fully agree. But because of that, people get to 6 and they're like, okay, one more to go before I can see what all the big hype about Gyro's about.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just kind of skim through it, and then they're like, this isn't so great. You're not fully reading. You know how many times I've heard people say, I don't like part 6 because this, and meanwhile their explanation is wrong. That's not what happened.
Exactly.
Someone say, didn't Jolene lose and everyone died? I'm like, no!
Exactly! That's not what happened at all.
She had the coolest, like, last stand you could imagine. She stared death in the fucking face as it was swimming towards her on the back of a dolphin. And then that allowed Emporio to escape, who then used his weather report stand to kill Poochie! Oh my god! Yo, I have never been so hyped as I was reading the pages of Weather Report Stand crushing Poochie's fucking skull.
Dude, that was the cool. I was already in shock, but just watching, it was so much. It was.
Emporio is best child. Like,
dude, he is.
Not even a question.
He honestly is. And that was one of the saddest endings to read.
Of course! Like, it's this incredibly bittersweet, ironic kind of ending where, like, yes, everyone's alive and their lives are better now. Like, everyone's in a better position now than they ever were before. But their memories aren't there. It's not quite the same. Everything's a little bit different. And I think I heard a quote by Araki, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's the sad thing about part 6's ending is not the death of the characters, it's the death of the story, which is accurate because all of what we've been reading is done now. Mm-hmm. And that's why he moves on to a whole fucking different universe in part 7 and 8. And that's the sadness of part 6's ending, is that the story is over. For the first time in JoJo's, where it just seems to keep going forever, it's over. Mm-hmm. And these characters are now going to go live happier lives, but the story is ended. And I think that's amazing. And people don't give it enough credit.
Exactly. Like,
not to mention Jolene's just a fucking badass.
She is. She's such a good JoJo.
Oh my god, are you like I'm in love with Jolene. Fucking obsessed. And Anasui is one of my favorite JoBros ever.
Yes! Thank God someone says that too.
Oh god, every character in part 6 is fantastic. Anasui, Weather Report, Hermes, Foo Fighters, Jolene. Poochie is one of my favorite villains.
Yeah, Poochie's a good... I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites, but I would say he is a cool villain.
Yeah, and so I was saying before, I don't have one favorite of anything. So Poochie and Kira are my two favorite villains. And Poochie is up there because, like, I feel like there's something so great about his motivation, because he doesn't even realize he's bad. Like, Dio wakes up in the morning, brushes his teeth with evil toothpaste, and, like, basks in the sunlight. Obviously not literally of being evil. Like, he lives to be bad. He's obsessed with it. Poochie thinks he's doing God's work because he thought Dio was an angel that fixed his foot miraculously. Like, he literally thinks he's helping humanity by doing this horrible thing, and that, like, Jolene and the gang are like these fucking heretics trying to stop him. Like, there's something so great about that. It's like Thanos. Like, Thanos thinks he's doing the right thing. So does Poochie. I could gush over part 6 fucking all day.
Wait, so it sounds like part 6 one of your favorite parts.
Well, part 6 and part 4 are definitely tied for it.
Part 6, part 4, wow.
Yeah, no, part 6 is absolutely one of my favorites.
I think you're the first person I've ever heard call part 6 one of their favorites.
Oh my god, dude, it's so good.
It is.
Some of the stand battles are great. I know people like to shit on fucking Yo-Yo Ma and Dragon Dreams. Look, I still think there's something great about both of those fights. Dragon Dreams, a fucking a stand that is entirely neutral. Like, look, I don't care if you win or lose. I'm just going to point to the lucky spot in the room. I think that's great.
I love that arc.
It's a goofy fight. I don't think it's meant to be taken all that fucking seriously, like the Magnets in part 3. And yo, the Sons of Dio, they're all dope. Fucking what's his face who has Bohemian Rhapsody? That one's great. Rykiel, the dude in cow suit, honestly, one of my favorite minor villains ever. That guy's a riot. I love him. I made a video on my TikTok page saying I would love to do a voice in part 6 when they finally do the English dub. And of course, I don't expect that to actually happen. But if it were, I would gladly voice that guy. If I could voice Rykiel, I could die happy. I love him. That little like panic attack meltdown he has in the hospital when he's talking to Poochie is one of my favorite scenes in the entire part. It's so good.
Whenever I think of that character, I can't. Just the image in my mind of just Emporio bleeding piss everywhere.
Oh yeah, there's that infamous line. Yeah, no, that was pretty great. No, yeah, part 6 is up there for sure, tied with part 4. What would you say is your favorite part?
Oh, I would say it's tied with part 4 and 7.
4 and 7. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Part 4 is such a joy.
It is. I couldn't get into it in like the first 10 episodes, but once Kira showed up, I was.
Oh, for sure. Like Kira's amazing.
He has my like favorite villain Stan.
Yeah, Killer Queen is awesome. Such a terrifying Stan. And like I remember that I did not know how part 4 ends. I mean, obviously, like okay, the good guys are gonna win, but like I didn't know what was gonna happen. So the more Kira's powers like progressed, especially in those last few episodes with Bites the Dust, I was just sitting there like, yo, this sucks. How are they possibly gonna get around?
I know, right? I was like, it took me a minute to realize how they actually got past it, but still, it was like.
Yeah, like once I think it took until they said he can only use one bomb at a time. I was like, oh, okay, all right, there's something. We should fucking deal with this because it just seemed like it was just getting worse and worse. And I was like, oh my god, what the fuck can they do?
Exactly, and then you got that. I think it's one of my favorite scenes of just Hayato just in front of everybody. He's about to kill himself right there and then.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite scenes.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was crazy.
Hayato deserved to stand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, that final beatdown on Kira where everybody's teaming up on him, it's just like one of the coolest endings.
And then he got killed.
I remember at the time, I felt a little bit like, I felt like Jotaro kind of stole that win.
Yes!
Then I marinated on it a little bit more, and I'm like, no, that was a team win. I like that. I like how that went down. Even the fucking ambulance came in at the end.
Stole the kill.
Yeah, oh my god. But yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love that.
Now, so you're obviously a huge JoJo fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you ever thought about if you were to make a stand, what would it be and what would it be called?
So I actually have thought about this. So I feel like everybody kind of has.
Yeah.
What would my stand be? I have a name at least. I'm still kind of debating on what it would do, but I would call it Mr. Blue Sky. There's this, you know, my friends and me have this whole inside joke about the color blue because I for anyone who's listening to this and knows me through TikTok, that's not the first time I've been on the internet. I've been on the internet since like 2006. I've been doing shit forever. I've been on multiple YouTube channels. And I used to do Let's Plays, and I did a Pokemon Nuzlocke run at one point. And there's this clip. Not many people watched this, so the only people that really know about it are my friends. But there was this clip where I was walking in. What's the town in Fire Red where the safari is?
I never played Pokemon.
Oh shit! Okay. Well, listening to this, you'll know what city I'm talking about. But I ran into that city, and one of the first things you see is this Lapras just sitting in a pool. And I just went, it's a Lapras! It's blue! And I just move on. But that line stuck with my friend so hard that like there's this inside joke about me and the color blue now. So Mr. Blue Sky just felt right. And I think what I've got for its ability right now is that it would create basically illusions, like mirages, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of all I got so far. What about you?
I'm a huge David Bowie fan.
Okay.
And I would say one of my favorite songs by him is The Man Who Sold the World.
Ooh.
And my stand would be, if let's say if he touches you, hits you with something he touched, whatever, what it'll do, it will overfill you with an emotion that you've felt before. So if you felt fear before, it can overfill you with fear. It can do it with calmness, anxiety, stuff like that.
I could actually see that, like, being in the story at some point. That actually feels like something they would actually have to deal with, especially like in modern chapters. I feel like part 8 in particular has a lot of stuff that feels kind of like that vibe.
I just like how the stands got more complicated as everything.
Yeah, that's kind of what stood out to me about part 7. Like, so many stands just felt like, what are we doing here? Like, I can't even think of. Okay, no, I know exactly which one I'm thinking of. My go-to example about how weird part 7 is Sugar Mountain.
Wait, which one's Sugar Mountain?
Sugar Mountain is the stand where if you drop something in this river, you'll be handed that or a superior version of it. If you take the superior version of it, you'll explode immediately. If you take the regular version, you'll get both. But you have to send it before sundown, otherwise you'll turn into a tree branch.
Yeah, I remember that arc now, yep.
What the fuck are we doing? It's insanely complicated.
It is.
And like the finale of that arc is even weirder because like they have all this money and they have to figure out how to spend this money, but no one will take the money, so they have to go to a casino and then gamble the money. Fucking wild. It's crazy. So yeah, part 7 is I feel like where Stan's got their weirdest. Yeah. But yeah, even in part 8, like, oh, there's this guy on a motorcycle and he chases you whenever you open a door. What?
Yeah, that one could. What about Fun?
Which one is Fun?
The one where he has to be above you, but then you have to cut like 4. I forgot. Gotta cut yourself 4 times.
The first one in the arc. Yeah, it's. Oh my god. I was talking to a friend of mine that hasn't read part 8 yet, and he's like, I heard about this stand. It's basically a puppet thing, and I'm like, yeah, but he has to like cut your hands and feet first. What? Yeah, no, that one's crazy. It took me so long to understand how Paisley Park worked.
Really?
Because I remember in the chapter where Araki's describing Paisley Park, he just overcomplicates it. Because he starts describing it, and it's like, imagine there's a hallway full of doors, and you can open a door, and it'll show you another door, and you go down the hallway, and there's a different door, and you open that door, and it shows you information about doors, and it's like, what are we talking about doors for? What the fucking
I mean, I really like Paisley Park, though.
I was just like, this is way too complicated for what it is, which is really, it lets her access information and helps her out occasionally. Messages.
I mean, yeah,
but yeah, part 8 gets fucking weird. But then you also have the simple stands, like, oh, I can put screws in your neck and then unscrew it. And now your head falls off.
I hate how OP a stand is.
It's so wild. Like, this little bitch boy has like one of the coolest stands,
and he never uses it.
Dude, I will say this though, the what was it called? That chapter where he like gets this money. And keeps,
yep.
I forget what the chapter's like called, the Monte something man or something like that. But those chapters were dope, and I was like, I like how Joshu was the center focus of it, and at the end he didn't grow as a person, he's still a dick. Like, he just slams the door and that guy like, no, it's still your fucking problem, get away from me.
I hate him so much.
He's such an asshole. I love how the entire JoJo community can just unite behind fuck Joshu. Like, everyone has their opinions on different characters. Like, oh, Polnareff's my favorite character. Oh, I don't like fucking Jolene, but everyone's like, no, fuck that.
It's a common thing. It brings everyone together.
It unites us. So good.
Now, so you've seen the anime and manga, right?
Yeah, so I've watched the parts 1 through 5 in the anime, and then from 6 to where I'm at in part 8, I've read the manga. I didn't read parts 1 through 5 though.
Mm-hmm. So, do you prefer at this point the anime or manga?
That's tough. I mean, I think I would go with the anime, but only because I don't know what's different from the manga version. Like, I know some stuff has changed. Apparently, like some of Fugo's backstory is made up in the anime. Like, that's not apparently in the manga.
Yeah, Fugo never had a backstory in the manga.
That's crazy. So, I mean, it sounds like the anime is constantly improving on stuff, and especially if I've seen like pictures of how the part 1 manga looks, and I'm like, that 80s look. So I would lean towards it there, but at the same time, like, part 6 ain't animated yet. So in the meantime,
yeah, I'm hyped for that though.
Oh, I can't wait. I get so annoyed when people are like, they should skip it and just animate part 7. It's like, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
you're a dick for saying it.
Yeah, I'm really hyped for part 6.
I can't wait. I made that video saying that, like, they have this announcement event coming in April of next year, and everyone has their own conclusion on what's going to be announced there. Some people say it's going to be another Rohan OVA. Some people say it's going to be nothing. Some people say it's going to be a Japanese exclusive video game. I'm convinced they will announce part 6 at this event.
Yes, and you know why I think that too? Yeah. Because they're doing a podcast, and every single month, one character is getting like featured. I think this month was Jonathan and Speedwagon. Next month is like Joseph and Jotaro and so on and so on. But right after part 5, it would be April.
Yeah, ooh. Yeah.
That would leave Jolene.
It's like, they said every JoJo has a thing like that, to little animated studio like, thing of like, Jordan has a thing like, oh, he can fold his ear inside together, or at least we never talk about 5.
Right?
Like, that ain't planting the seeds for Jolene. I know, like, oh, you I don't know what got this crazy little talent.
It's part 9.
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, it could be that also. That would be surprising to have both, but nothing. He's gonna let the other characters do it. Okay, cool.
And now, actually, I feel like speaking of part 5, can we talk about how Fugo needed more?
Instead of I haven't like realized how I get why it was written out. Like, did you hear the story of why it happened?
Yeah.
But oh god, I wish he was in more of that, because like I really liked him.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I always go back to this scene when they first meet Trish at that bathroom, and she's like, "Fugo, give me your jacket," and he's like, well, "Okay," and she wipes her hands with it and hands it back to him, and then he just fucking flips out. That is one of my favorite little character moments, and then he just goes away, and I'm like, I know,
and we only saw Sand once.
Purple Haze is so cool.
It's my favorite stand. Not my favorite, Soft and Wet is, but this one is a close third.
Yeah, it's like, I love the idea of a stand that kind of has a mind of its own. And I get it was probably going to be pretty difficult to write many battles with that kind of ability. But God, I wish we got to see it more.
It perfectly reflected Fugo's personality. It was so perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you read Purple Haze Feedback?
No, actually.
Ooh, okay, so I didn't read it per se. I listened to an audiobook version on YouTube. But I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't read it. It's super dope. I think it takes a little time to get into. I feel like the first half is a little slow, but that second half, once it picks up, woo, that is a good story. I feel like it really, the people like us who crave more Fugo content, it is there.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a read.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
Have you played the Eyes of Heaven video game?
Unfortunately, I haven't, because I'm an Xbox boy and I don't have a PS3. But I do kind of want to get a PS3 just for that game.
But PS3 has All Stars.
I know how the story goes.
Mm.
And that's buck wild. But I have not played it myself, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have the game. I'm trying to 100% it, but it's so hard.
Ooh, I can only imagine. Holy shit.
Yeah, you have to do every story mission and get an S rank.
Wow.
It is so annoying. It is.
Jesus.
I know. The only thing that's saving me is Jotaro, because when you upgrade him, he's really good.
I mean, I can imagine. I mean, even the story treats him as like a fucking god character.
I know, right? But when you upgrade him, he can pause time like in a snap, and then you can make it last like 5 seconds, maybe.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like the ending of that story is a little been there, done that. Quite literally, it's the exact same as the ending of part 3, but it's still pretty cool seeing everybody together like that.
I tried to main Johnny, as I said, because he's one of my favorites, but he's so hard to play.
He looks hard to play, like riding on the horse.
And then when you get off the horse, you're kind of just there.
Yeah, you're like, I just gotta wait for my horse to come back.
Exactly, it is so annoying. But, you know, when you do hit people, you do take like a chunk of their health.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wonder what it's like playing Valentine. I can't think of how that ability works in a fighting game.
Well, his special attack, he does like bring you to an alternate universe and you see yourself and you both collide.
Oh, okay.
But that only takes a chunk of health. But he does have one ability where I think it's when he's about to die or like at any time when it loads up, he puts another version of himself and then you're back to full health.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. But it takes a while to charge. You can finish the match before that's even close to being done.
Yeah, Valentine's really cool.
He is. He's not my favorite villain though.
No, he's not mine either, but I really appreciate him. I feel like when I first saw him, I was like, this pudgy, short little fucking weirdo is the villain. And then he just got jacked.
I know, right?
He became fucking shredded. Like, just from one chapter to the next. Like, oh, he's got an 8-pack. Okay.
He's got an 8-pack and he says Dojan.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like once his stuff really gets going, he's really cool.
Yeah, I don't get why people say his stand's complicated, because it's complicated, but it's not as bad as King Crimson in my opinion.
I mean, shit, of all the villain stands, I feel like his is pretty simple to understand.
Yeah, I don't really get why people are so like confused on it. Nope, we're breaking up again.
I mean,
oh, never mind.
King Crimson's way more complicated.
I know, I still can barely understand it.
Yeah, King Crimson. I mean, I at this point, I understand how King Crimson works, but I remember watching the anime being like, I don't know what's happening.
I know, right? It's like...
Especially in that first time you see it happen where he's fighting Bruno.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Bruno just punched a pillar, and now the pillar is Bruno, and Bruno's looking at Bruno, but now Volo's behind Bruno, and he just punched. What happened?
I know, right? It was so complicated. I was so thrown off.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I erased time and leapt past it. I'm like, what? Why did that make 2 Brunos? I still don't understand why there were 2 Brunos. I still don't get that.
Me neither. It's just so complicated. I don't know if it's needlessly complicated or just complicated.
Well, like, once they, like, get into the refined, like, just what it is, I get it, sort of. But that first time you see it, it still doesn't make sense what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, Epitaph lets him see into the future, so he knows what's going to happen. And then King Crimson, the way I understand it, is that the time isn't necessarily going away, but no one can perceive it except for Diavolo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's happening, but like it's everyone's blinded to it. So they're just going to keep doing whatever they were doing, and Diavolo can just get out of the way of your punch and get behind you. And then when King Crimson's ability stops, you're suddenly 4 feet more forward than you were before, and he's behind you. That's sort of how I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just feels like time got skipped for everyone else.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the most complicated stands, if not the most.
Yeah, because I remember, like, in part 3, you finally find out what the world does, and it's like, oh my god, he can stop time? He's invincible. And then in part 4 is like, oh, he can put you in a time loop? He's invincible. And then part 5 is like, he skipped it. But the difference is, he literally was invincible, if not for the Requiem shit.
Exactly, but I would say that's one of the most brutal, one of the most brutal ways to end a villain.
Oh yeah. Like infinite death loop forever because you sold drugs to kids.
Exactly.
Wow.
Like the question comes up: did he deserve that?
I've definitely had that discussion with people. Like, was it too much of a punishment? Maybe.
Like,
I mean, he did do some pretty horrendous shit, but I don't know. I feel like Kira was worse.
Yeah, if anything, Kira deserved it more, and Kira actually got let off. If you look at Dead Man Walking or whatever it's called.
Oh, I still got to read that. I've heard it's really good.
I actually haven't read it either, but I know some of it, and knowing some of it, I say he really didn't get that bad.
Because my basic understanding, again, having not read it, is that he's more or less a ghost cop now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like it's super weird that, like, I mean, in part 4, he gets his head crushed by an ambulance, and then he gets dragged to hell by a bunch of demon hands. So it's still pretty decent punishment. But yeah, the infinite death loop maybe went to the wrong guy.
Yeah. Again, isn't it like Giorno didn't know what he was gonna do because that was all Golden Experience Requiem?
Yeah, Gold Experience kind of did that on its own, and Giorno still just kind of was like, well, I guess I won.
Yeah, like, isn't it something with the Requiem arrow that when you get stabbed by it, it's what you want in that moment is what it's going to be? So, like, when Polnareff wouldn't happen to him, he just wanted to protect the arrow, and that's why it took that form?
I guess... I mean, I've definitely heard that explanation before, and I guess it makes sense. The only thing that strikes me as weird about that explanation is that because there's the flashback where Polnareff touched the arrow accidentally and it did the same thing. Put everyone to sleep. And I'm like, why was it what he wanted then?
He wanted a quiet life.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Like, I hate getting chased by bad guys and beat up all the time. Let me just put everyone to sleep.
God, this reminds me of how bad I feel for Polnareff.
Oh, Polnareff had such a fucked up life.
He did. He didn't deserve it.
Poor fucking guy deserves none of that.
And his friends died, then he lost literally his arms and legs.
Yeah, he gets like beat to shit, becomes a cripple, and then now he gets killed in his wheelchair in a foreign country, trying to help some kids he doesn't fucking know.
And then gets turned into a turtle.
now he lives his life as a turtle. He's like, well, I guess I'll just keep hanging out with these kids.
Oh god, dude, that part 5 was such a ride.
It really was. And speaking of like weird endings, like with part 7, part 5, I get now, after I had someone explain it to me, I get why part 5 ended on a flashback arc. But at the time, it felt really weird. Like, oh, we just beat Diavolo, yay! Here's this time that Mista saw a rock in an elevator.
That threw me off guard too.
Yeah, I'm like, why are we doing this? What happened? But I sort of get it in retrospect. It's like, oh, it's trying to tell you that you shouldn't fuck with fate because you just made it worse. But part 5 is very strange.
It is. It's not my favorite. It's an okay part.
Yeah, it's like I love Jonathan, but part 1 is like we're doing Castlevania. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we got swords, we got vampires, we'll kill some vampires. All right. But yeah, Jonathan's fucking great, and I hate the fact that he is, unless you count Johnny, the only JoJo to die.
Just who had a worse death, Johnny or Jonathan?
I don't think any death is more unfortunate and dare I say pathetic than Johnny.
just the one panel of Johnny on the ground with a boulder on his head.
Hit me with it.
Favorite fight, favorite arc, favorite fight.
Oh my god. That's tough. Oh man. You know, I don't know if it's truly my favorite, but one of the first ones that comes to mind is that fucking cool ass fist fight that Crazy Diamond and Killer Queen have, like before the team up fight. It is so cool. Like, I love how Kira just comes at it like, oh, Killer Queen's unbeatable. You'll never stop me. And then they start having a fucking boxing match. The Crazy Diamond comes in like Mike fucking Tyson, walking his shit. Like, uh-oh. It's so cool. That's definitely up there.
Yeah. I actually have two favorite arc fights, whatever. I'd say my first one is actually from part 5.
Okay.
It's with what's his name? It was the one guy with the ice powers.
Oh, Gacho?
Yeah, Gacho, whatever, and Mista and Jorna.
That is a really cool one. And I like how it took the both of them, because Gacho's fucking standard is not good.
And it was such a brutal death.
Oh my god, getting like impaled.
Yeah, slowly.
Spike. Oh my god, super cool. Again, it is one of those weird Giorno moments for me though, where like, oh no, Mista's shooting himself again. I guess I'll break my arm and let the shower of blood motivate him.
I know. It was Hey Up Requiem.
Yeah. Why? Like, hey, Mista, don't forget, you're actually super cool, and you got more willpower than he does, and I'm gonna break my arm to prove it. Like, what? Super bizarre.
I mean, yeah.
I also really like from part 5, Bruno versus Prosciutto on the train.
Prosciutto on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that fight he has with kind of the both of them is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, that brings up, I think Bruno has my favorite stand cry.
Oh, yeah. That shit's dope. That, like, adi, 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 I think the Reba there, is.
Yeah. It's so good. That's why whenever I play JoJo Eyes of Heaven, I just go Bruno immediately sometimes, just to hear that.
It's so awesome. I love it.
It's so cool.
That actually reminds me, what do you think of the dub of the anime?
I would say, I think parts 1 and 2 had a good dub. But I don't know about the rest. I like Matt Mercer, but I did not like him as Jotaro.
I'll say this, Jotaro is the difficult one. I feel bad for any voice actor that ever has to play Jotaro.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how the fuck do you keep up with that? Part 3 definitely has, I feel like, some of the weirder casting. I feel like some of it feels a little goofy at times where it shouldn't. But I think parts 4 and 5, I feel, have great dubs.
You know what? I think I only heard Josuke's voice in dub.
I love part 4's dub, not even because so much of the casting, although I do think it's good. Okuyasu's takes a little bit of getting used to. It definitely took me a little getting used to hearing Koichi be like a squeaky voice teen with a bunch of voice cracks, but it fits the more I think about it.
Yeah.
And Vic Mignogna as Rohan was a weird choice, but it kind of worked.
He kind of reminded me of a pedophile.
He does sound creepy.
Yeah.
He definitely does sound creepy. But I love the writing of the part 4 dub. They just fucking go ham. They don't give a shit. I love it.
Is that actually how it is? Because I've never watched the dub for part 4 and 5.
There are so many great lines. 2 of my favorites are when Koichi is fighting against sheer heart attack. He has a line where he's like, it's something to the effect of, I'm the one with the advantage, so why am I the one who's running away like a whiny little piss baby with a case of the shit? And then my other favorite is during the episode where Okuyasu and Josuke go to Tonio's restaurant, and Josuke's convinced that Tonio's like murdering people in the kitchen, and he goes in the back and he sees Tonio's got like a piece of meat and a knife, and he says, "For the love of God, drop the meat!" Sprinting towards him. So good.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it in dub now.
Oh my god, I want to watch all of JoJo's in dub just for any of those moments I might have missed.
Me too.
So amazing. And part 5's dub, Giorno is a little weird, but again, I can't blame the voice actor for that, because how the fuck do you make that character interesting? But everyone else, oh my god, Bruno's voice actor's amazing.
Okay, here's a I guess sweet last question. How did you get into JoJo?
Ooh, okay. So, it's interesting. I watched this YouTube channel for a very long time, the Super Best Friends. It's a Let's Play channel, for anyone that doesn't know about them. Unfortunately, they're not still going, but they would talk about JoJo's all the time, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I knew that JoJo's existed. I knew there was a guy named Dio, and that was about the extent of it. And then a few years later, me and my girlfriend are like constantly looking for new shows to watch. We both like anime, so I'm like, let me look around and see what we can start watching. And I saw this video on YouTube by Super Eyepatch Wolf, who does these amazing video essays about different animes and other stuff, but mostly anime. And he has a whole series of videos called "Why You Should Watch Blank," and he did one for each of the animated JoJo parts. And so I watched the one for part 1, and he explains like kind of the hook, the like pitch on why you should watch JoJo's. And it sounded really interesting. I'm like, oh, it's about like vampires and shit? Okay. And I knew that stands eventually happened, but it was kind of interesting to me that they weren't there right out the gate. And I'm like, okay, well, let me see what this is all about. And so me and my girlfriend just started watching it one night, and we only get through like the first 3 episodes, but I remember being like, this is strange in the best way. Like, I remember telling people, you know how anime is kind of naturally dramatic and weird? And then like Shakespearean theater is also kind of naturally dramatic and weird. This took them both together and just like amplified it, and I'm like, this is amazing. Because it was just like, oh, they're doing these dramatic poses and they're talking in this Shakespearean over-the-top dialogue, and like the English is just hilarious. And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And I never stopped. I never stopped at that point.
I've never heard someone start at part 1 and consistently go through it without getting bored.
It's crazy to me because I think people come in with such high expectations of what JoJo's is. Like, they know about part 3 and like, oh, Jotaro versus Dio and these amazing like stand battles, and then they get to part 1 and it's like, well, this isn't what I signed up for. But that's why I like going into most things blind, because I have no expectations, so I can just sit there and enjoy it for what it is. And part 1 is a fucking great story if you just let it be.
Yeah.
And so I was hooked. I was immediately hooked, and then I was sad when Jonathan died, and it's like, oh, we got a new guy, and it's like, oh, this is great. And then I remember being so upset at the fake out of Joseph dying.
Yeah.
I remember specifically my girlfriend looked at me when it said like it puts the words on the screen, Joseph Joestar died whatever date it was, and she just looked at me and she goes, are we gonna do this every time? Is that what's happening here? I'm like, I fucking hope not. And then he fucking shows up at his own funeral. Like, I love him so much.
That was one of the greatest scenes.
I love him so much. What got you into JoJo?
So honestly, I didn't have high expectations, because what happened was that I was with my friend and he kept on begging me to watch JoJo, like begging me, and to the point where he made a Google slide on JoJo references that I won't understand until I watch it. So one of them was Kakyoin on a donut. I didn't know what that was.
Oh.
One of them was a piece of gyro, like the taco or whatever, and it had bullet holes in it.
Oh my god.
He had stuff like that, and I didn't know what it was, and it took me a month to finish part 1, but after like half of it I got really into it. Then same with part 2. Part 3 took me like 2 months, but then the rest just picked up.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I've definitely been that friend to other people. Like ever since I got hooked, I've been telling everybody I fucking know about JoJo's. Like, hey,
Oh, same.
You gotta watch this shit.
Same. I made a bet with my friend that if he watches JoJo, then I'll watch Avatar: Last Airbender.
I actually know someone. It's my girlfriend. My girlfriend's got a bet with someone else that he'll start watching JoJo's if she reads One Piece. And I'm like,
oh God,
hell of a fucking lopsided deal.
Who makes that deal?
One Piece is like, I'm trying to read One Piece now. It took me a couple months to get like 200 chapters in.
Oh God, like that sounds like misery.
More to go.
That is such a lopsided deal. He should have said like half of One Piece.
Yeah, it's like if you read One Piece, I'll read JoJo's. Like that's not fair. Do that shit in a couple months.
I know, that's like saying if you read the first Spider-Man comic, then you have to read the Holy Bible. It's like that is.
It's way too much. I've certainly been that fan to other people. Like, dude, you gotta watch this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But to wrap things up now, if you want to like say anything to end it, advertise anything, whatever you want, this is the floor.
My kind of only big platform is on TikTok. If you go to _Carmine, that's where you'll find me. I make JoJo videos. It's funny. I guess people who follow me probably assume JoJo's is my favorite anime, and it's not actually.
Oh, really? That was actually one of my questions. I forgot to say.
Yeah, no, JoJo's isn't even. It's up there. I'd say it's probably my second favorite, but it's not actually my favorite. My favorite is Gurren Lagann.
I've never heard of that.
Most people haven't, and it's so unfortunate. It's a fantastic show. It's only like 26 or 27 episodes. It's super short. But I saw it when I was like in middle school, and to this day, it's still my favorite. It is an amazing anime, but there's not the same audience for it. Like if Gurren Lagann was as popular as JoJo's, I'd be making Gurren Lagann videos. But also JoJo's is just so easy to make videos.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You can apply it to like any search engine you can fucking think of.
I know, right? Like your videos with stuff like SpongeBob quotes and stuff like that. It's just so easy and so funny. It's like,
oh, dude, it's the best. Like that's every new audio I find on TikTok. It's like I can make a JoJo video with that.
Exactly. You can almost imagine any scenario with it.
Yeah, exactly. I find a new audio. I'm like, so which characters can I use this with? Like, that's the whole experience. Yeah, you can find me on there. I have the same username on Instagram, which is also where I have my own JoJo which character are you filter. If you want to use it for your own videos, I see the entire reason I made it. I fully endorse it. Go ahead and do it. I should actually say what the name is, shouldn't I? It's called Which JoJo Character. And I have a Twitter, but I don't use it. I mentioned I'm on YouTube. I technically still am. If you go to a channel called The Supla, if you're a fan of professional wrestling, that's the channel for you. That's where me and my friends talk about wrestling.
Are you an AEW or WWE type person?
I want to make a TikTok video advertising this series. We do a series called Supla Brawl, where we take the WWE video game and we put ourselves and a bunch of other characters that we've made up into it, and we have our own little wrestling promotion.
Ooh, okay.
With championships and everything.
Yeah.
It's really stupid, but I love it. It's my fun little project.
I'll definitely link it.
So that's SUPLAH, The Supla. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. That's all the plugs I've got.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, definitely, for being the first episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was super honored to be a guest on your first episode. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be your first guest. I'm super thankful.
I'm happy you went on, because honestly I thought you were going to say no.
No, I love it. I get people reaching out and saying all these kind things, and it's super great. I love hearing from all the people that follow me and all these things like this. It's fantastic. I love it.
Well,
Get back!